Women's soccer opens up the A10 playoffs this Saturday with a home contest against the Dayton Flyers. Hi, I'm Gia Lancey.
And I'm Tyler Small. Later, Gia sits down with men's head basketball coach Ashley Howard. You're watching LaSalle TV's home for Explorer Athletics, SportsLine. Welcome to SportsLine. Tyler in that costume was sure the scariest costume I've ever seen. Hopefully that didn't deter you, since there were a few weekly honors this week.
Hey. Not only was the scariest part of the costume how good I looked, but you should also stay tuned to hear our Explorer report highlighting this week's quarterfinal matchup against the Dayton Flyers.
But first, let's take a look at our SportsLine top 3. Number 1 comes from women's soccer again. Redshirt senior Macy Bauer earned her third Atlantic 10 Co-Offensive Player of the Week award of the season after scoring the game against UMass, following by scoring the game-tying goal and then the game-winning goal against Dayton to celebrate senior night. Bauer's 6 goals in the last 5 games ties her record with Lisa McDermott from the class of '89 with 27 career goals. Not to be outshined, freshman Danielle Rooney won her first A10 Rookie of the Week award as she assisted on both of Bauer's goals in the Dayton game, plus added her own goal to the score for 4 points this week. We will have more on women's soccer team in recaps. Hint, hint, it includes playoff berths.
Number 2. For the second time this season, freshman goalkeeper Carlos Mora was named Atlantic 10 Rookie of the Week. Mora recorded his second shutout of the season in Wednesday's 2-0 victory at George Mason. Mora watched his career high with 5 saves, as he improved to 3-1-1 this season and logged 106 scoreless minutes in the week. The Spain native has been impressive in his 5 starts and 8 games. The freshman holds a 1.04 goal against average over 518 minutes and has 16 saves to go with a clean sheet on the season.
Number 3. Earlier this week, Amanda Chapin was recognized as Phila Field Hockey Offensive Player of the Week. The honor comes after the week that saw Chapin score her 4th goal of the season and dish out her 10th assist of the year. That assist made her the 4th player in LaSalle field hockey history to record double-digit assists in a year. Chapin was also named a reserve in the NFHCA senior game to be played. So yeah, Chapin's totally killing it this year. She's the assist queen. So that's a great way to end her senior year.
Yeah, it's a great way for her to end her senior year, but it's a terrible loss for the Explorers team. She leads the team in assists with 11, points with 19, and she has the 3rd most goals with 4. She's really been a game manager on the field, and stat-wise and leadership-wise, she's really going to be missed.
For sure. Literally any time we've ever talked about field hockey, her name has been mentioned. So.
Exactly.
And then Carlos Mora, he got a great opportunity when Warner got hurt. You know, he's been killing it, and he's been playing so much. And now he has better stats than Warner.
Never know when your time's going to come, and he really made the most of that moment. That's all we have for top 3. Now let's get on to recaps. A huge week came from the women's soccer team as they successfully clinched a spot in the A10 playoffs. After coming off a tough loss against UMass this Thursday, the women's hosted Dayton. The first half of the match did not favor LaSalle as Dayton scored 2 goals within the first 5 minutes. The Flyers' defense would hold the Explorers scoreless as the game went to half with a 2-0 score. As the second half began, however, the blue and gold came back with a vengeance as freshman Danielle Rooney put the Explorers on the board with a pass from junior Jenna Soriano in the 49th minute. Not too long after that, junior goalkeeper Claudia Jenkins booted a pass from the box to Rooney, who then headed the ball to redshirt senior Macy Bauer, who scored off the header to tie the game up at 2. It was anyone's game, but in a true comeback fashion, Bauer scored for the Explorers just 5 minutes later, clinching the victory and a home playoff game for the Explorers.
Men's soccer played 1 game against A10 rival UMass. Producer Steven Silvestro has the coverage.
On October 26th, the men's soccer team hosted Atlantic 10 rival UMass. The Explorers honored their 4 seniors as this was their final game at McCarthy Stadium. UMass's Quinn Serafino capitalized on an early Explorers mistake as freshman Luis Puchol and sophomore Brett Warner collided giving Serafino an empty net goal in the 5th minute. The Explorers responded, firing off 5 unanswered shots, but to no avail. The team swapped goal-scoring opportunities until the 40th minute, when sophomore Ike Hollinger was in the right place at the right time to score off a rebound, tying the game up at 1 going into halftime. The Explorers found themselves on their heels after sophomore Charlie Collins was called for a foul nearly inside the box, giving Minutemen's Christian Lebec a penalty kick. Werner guessed wrong as the Minutemen regained their 1-goal lead. UMass struck again 15 minutes later when Evan Fournier found Christian Beck, who bent it right around the Explorers' defense to bury it in the top right corner, pushing the Minutemen's lead to 2 goals in the 68th minute. With time winding down, the Explorers' offense needed to pick up. Transfer sophomore Nigel Buckley stepped up for the Explorers, scoring from 18 yards out to narrow the lead to 1. However, the blue and gold couldn't find the net again. The Explorers had multiple opportunities throughout the game as they outshot the Minutemen 17-11 and accumulated 5 more corner kicks, but couldn't capitalize, giving UMass the 3-2 win to moot senior night celebrations. For SportsLine, I'm Steven Silvestro.
The LaSalle women's volleyball team continued conference play as they faced Davidson at home. The first set started off strong for the blue and gold as they opened the match with a 7-1 run. After winning the first set 25-16, the Explorers continued their rally into the second set as they led 8-5. They finished the set strong as a pair of kills by freshman Marissa Gusti earned the Explorers a 2-0 advantage in the series. Davidson would manage to fend off the sweep as they pushed the Explorers to a win-by-2 frame and stole the third set 30-28. The fourth set was all Explorers as they killed Davidson 25-12, sealing the victory for the Explorers. Senior Catherine Edgington led all players in kills for the second straight game with 17, while junior Samantha Graver earned her 13th double-double of the season with 13 kills and 24 digs. Next up, the team took on VCU at home. Jamie Smith has the coverage.
On Sunday, volleyball took on A10 rival VCU Rams. Early on in the first set, both teams went on their own runs. LaSalle made the first run of the game with 3 straight points before VCU answered back with a 9-4 stretch. The Explorers didn't trail far behind the rest of the set, eventually taking the lead 24-23. Both teams faced game point multiple times as the game went past 25 points. Unfortunately, VCU would get the upper hand and win the set 31-29. In the second set, the Explorers started off by scoring the first 3 points before being matched by VCU with a 10-5 run. LaSalle tried to gain momentum before gaining the lead later in the second set 24-23, but VCU would rattle off 3 straight points to take the second set 26-24. The third set went far worse for the blue and gold as the Rams took an early 6-point lead. VCU's lead would eventually rocket to a staggering 15 points over LaSalle's 3. The Explorers finally woke up and got within 6 points of the Rams' lead. The Explorers' 4 straight points weren't enough as the Rams took the third set with a final kill. The loss brings LaSalle's overall record to 10-11 and 4-5 in conference. Despite the loss, LaSalle moved into 6th place in the A10. For SportsLine, I'm Jamie Smith.
Field hockey played 2 games last weekend to try and bounce back after their 3-game losing streak. First, they took on A10 opponent UMass away. The first half went scoreless, but after intermission, UMass took the lead when redshirt sophomore Cassie Kincaid could not save a shot off the rebound. With just minutes left in the game, senior Amanda Chapin was able to get the equalizer after a turnover in the circle. The Minute women were unable to respond before the clock ran down, taking the game to overtime. Less than a minute in, UMass took the win with a quick goal. The Explorers then faced off against Lehigh on senior day. Within the first 2 minutes, junior Riley Allen gave LaSalle the lead off a pass from freshman Emma Holzman. Allen was on fire when she scored again in the next few minutes to double the lead for the blue and gold. Before halftime, Lehigh scored to close the gap. In the fourth quarter, Chapin added another assist to her stats when she set up senior Leck Leitner to put them up 2. Later in the game, Lehigh was able to score once more. The win took LaSalle out of their 4-game losing streak. The Explorers then took on the undefeated A10 St. Joe's Hawks. The Hawks grabbed the lead early with 2 goals in 10 minutes and never surrendered the lead as the Explorers fell 4-2.
On Friday, October 25th, LaSalle's swim team went head-to-head with Drexel, and sophomore Steven Stasola earned first place in the 1-meter dive, and finished right behind him was freshman Sam Henninger. Later in the meet, Henninger would finish first in the 3-meter dive. The Explorers had a few more standouts for the day when the senior Norm Gregory placed second in the 100 and 200 freestyle. Sophomore Ian Venter racked up 2 silvers in the 100 and 200 backstroke. Despite these individual performances, however, LaSalle wasn't strong enough to pull out a victory, losing 180 to 117. On the women's side, senior Emily Wolbert showed out, taking gold in the 100 and 200 fly. Sophomore Sarah Rossetto earned first with a time of 1 minute 54 seconds in the 200 freestyle and picked up silver in the 200 backstroke. Wolbert and Rosetto's performances were not enough to give the Explorers the victory, as they also fell to Drexel 194.5 to 99.5.
That's it for recaps, but don't go anywhere because we have 2 things. Ashley, Howard. Stay tuned. Love that.
Ashley.
Kylie loves to an egg.
An egg?
An egg.
How does a general lose to an egg?
The internet's to an egg.
You know, there is a show for that. It's called Backstage Pass.
Do you see the new library plan?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, they're doing stuff in the library.
Oh. In the library?
Yeah.
The new library.
You know, there is a show for that called LTV News, where the action never stops.
I wonder how the basketball team is.
You know, there is a show for that called SportsLine.
So are you a Carson Wentz or Nick Foles guy?
More of a Nate Sudfeld team.
Oh, really? Interesting. Wonder where we can hear about the Philly sports.
You know, there's a show for that called Sports Talk Philadelphia.
You like Family Feud?
Yeah.
You like all shows like that?
Yeah.
I wonder if LaSalle has a show like that. That'd be kind of cool.
There is a show for that called Q&A.
I really wish that we could just display our talents.
Yeah, me too.
There is a show for that called Explorers Got Talent.
All this and more on LaSalle TV.
Welcome back. LaSalle scored in the top 10% in the nation as the graduation success rate continues to grow as the NCAA gave the Explorers an overall score of 95. This is the highest score LaSalle has been given in the 15-year history of the NCAA graduation success rate. The NCAA broke it down into individual sports for the Explorers. 15 of 18 programs earning 90% or higher, with 8 programs earning a perfect score. For several teams, this was not the first year of the perfect score. Men's tennis and women's soccer were perfect for the 11th time each. Volleyball and women's basketball had 9 perfect scores, and men's basketball and softball saw perfection each of the last 5 years. The GSR score was created to factor in the graduation rate of athletes, even if they transfer out of a program.
Women's soccer added to their academic accomplishment when they earned the United States Coaches Team Academic Award for the 17th consecutive year. The Explorers posted a 3.57 grade point average during the 2018 to 2019 academic year. Earlier this week, I got to sit down with head coach of the men's basketball team, Ashley Howard. Check it out. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of On the Sidelines. I'm sitting down with men's basketball head coach, Ashley Howard. Thanks for sitting down with me today.
Thanks, Gia. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. So I know you have great Philadelphia basketball roots and you're in your sophomore year here at LaSalle. How does it feel being a head coach in your hometown?
It's a dream come true. I mean, Philadelphia is the only major city that's like a college basketball town, I would say, right? So to be a part of the Philly Big Five, to be a part of the rich tradition here, which is Philadelphia basketball, is something that is, is an honor for me to be a part of.
So when you were an assistant here at LaSalle, was staying at LaSalle something you were looking forward to or something you wanted? Or did you aspire to be head coach here when you were the assistant coach?
When I was an assistant, I was so young in the business that I was just trying to learn as much as I could about what it took to be a really good assistant coach at the collegiate level. So in some ways, it was like an internship for me. Because it was my first real job out of college. I had a lot of responsibility, and it was really cool. I learned so much throughout my first 4 years here. But it wasn't until after I left LaSalle that I really honed the skills that were valuable for me to become a head coach.
Okay, so what do you think you learned the most out of anywhere you were an assistant coach?
I learned that basketball is different everywhere you go. So there's different philosophies, there's different strategies, there's different ways of running your program, there's different recruiting philosophies, right? So I had the opportunity to work for 4 different head coaches. And what I did was I tried to take a little bit from everybody and sort of kind of come up with my own style based on the experiences that I had been a part of. So, I wouldn't say that I learned anything more from one place than the other. The one thing that I did learn from Villanova was, how to create a winning program and to pretty much, produce a winning pedigree, right? And I think that was valuable for me because everybody wants to be a part of a winner. So I think that for us right now would probably be the most valuable thing that I'm bringing to LaSalle.
Okay, great. So let's talk about the offseason a little bit. In the offseason, what were you looking for the most from the incoming freshmen and those transfers that you got?
So I wanted those guys to come in and learn LaSalle, right? Get opportunity to learn campus, understand how we do things. It's a huge adjustment going from high school to college. And for the transfers, a lot of times those guys didn't get an opportunity to be a huge part of whatever program they were coming from. So, just teaching the young guys what it takes to compete at this level. And then for the transfers, just developing their confidence again, just getting those guys back to being the players that they once were in high school when they were studs. We want them to have that same mentality here playing for the blue and gold.
Okay, yeah. So you do have quite a few freshmen and transfers. So specifically, was there anything that helped you transition them, like in their play style and to play with you?
Well, the biggest thing is those guys all came to summer school, right? So, they got an opportunity to come to summer school, take some classes. We get an opportunity to work with them during the summer, right? We get 4 hours a week in the summer. So throughout the summer, we got an opportunity to really hone in on, player development, teach the guys our system. So by the time we got to the fall, I think everybody had a pretty good understanding of what our mentality was going to be, what the expectations were, and what we're looking for from each individual going into this season.
Right. So speaking of mentality, what is the team's mentality this season?
We want to be the hardest playing, most together team that we can be, right? And eventually we want to be the hardest playing, most together team in all of college basketball. But there's baby steps that go to that, right? And when you have a young team, they're all developing the habits right now that it's going to take for us to be the hardest playing and the most together team. But I do believe that this team is fully committed to being the best version of that they can be. And if we continue to improve, then hopefully by the end of the season, we can be the hardest playing, most together team in the Atlantic 10 and in the Big 5 and hopefully, in college basketball eventually.
Right. So after last season, what did you implement in the off season that was different from your first season?
Conditioning. So last year, going into the year, I think we were focused so much on strategy, and it was really me being a first-year head coach, trying to just figure out, okay, how am I going to do things? How am I going to organize our team? And wanting to teach so much that I just forgot, like, yo, man, these dudes have to be conditioned, right? So we hired a strength and conditioning coach that works specifically with men's and women's basketball, and he took complete ownership of making sure that our guys were conditioned and that our guys were getting stronger. So the one thing that I would say that we did early on this year was we conditioned our guys. I think they're in much better shape going into this season than we were last year.
Yeah, and it looked at Hoops Madness, I could definitely tell the difference. So what matchup did you circle on your calendar this year and you're looking forward to the most?
Iona. It's the first game of the year. It's homecoming, and it's an opportunity for us to set the tone with our team and create some excitement here on campus about men's basketball. Iona is a tough team. They played in the NCAA tournament last year. They have some key transfers coming in, but we have a phrase in our program that the next game is the most important game of the season, and it's because it's our next game. So Iona is the first official game of the year. So we're looking forward to getting the season started off, and hopefully we can put on a good performance for our alumni and our fans on homecoming.
Yeah, it should be exciting. So is there any other matchups specifically that you're looking forward to, like maybe Villanova or Temple?
Well, the Big 5 games are always a battle, right?
Definitely.
And if you look at it, our first Big 5 game this year is against University of Penn. They won the Big 5 last year, so it's an opportunity for us in our first Big 5 game to play against the defending Big 5 champs, right? And then right after that, it's Temple. So every Big 5 game is a huge game. Obviously, the Villanova game is always going to be a marquee game on our schedule. But the one thing that we have to develop is we got to develop the mentality of understanding that every game is important, right? We can't play, Villanova like it's our championship and not, bring the same type of mentality against Iona or Penn or Temple.
Right.
We want to create that mindset. I know for the fans, everybody has that Villanova game circled on the calendar, December 1st at the Pavilion on Fox Sports 1. But you know what? We have a couple other games before that to help us prepare for Villanova. And if we don't bring it early on, it'll diminish some of the value of that Villanova game. So we want to make sure we're getting off to a good start.
For sure. So since the freshmen last year produced well, like Jack Clark, Ed Croswell, and Jared Kimbrough, how do you see them developing in their sophomore year?
So, Jack is going to redshirt this year because he had an injury in the offseason.
Right.
And we're going to sit him, allow him to get stronger, and we're really excited about what the future holds for Jack Clark. I think he has the opportunity to be a great LaSalle explorer. But Ed Croswell and Jared Kimbrough, they both got a lot of valuable experience as freshmen. They both got better during this offseason. Ed in particular has lost a lot of weight, really slimmed down, has gotten more athletic, quicker, faster. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he brings to the table this year because he led NCAA in offensive rebound percentage as a freshman. So if he could, take that next step and become one of the leading rebounders in the country, that'll really help our team. And Jared is, in my opinion, the most versatile defender that we have. So I'm looking forward to seeing the impact that he can make with the new additions that we're adding to our team with our length and athleticism, what type of defensive team that we can be, because I think Jared gives us a dimension that we really, really need.
Right. So we'll be able to tell who's the leader by the statistics. Who do you think is going to be the leader off the court?
So one of the things that we want to create as our culture continues to take form is I don't want you to be able to look at our team and say like, yo, that dude's the leader. I want all of the guys on our team to exude leadership qualities and to create a brotherhood amongst our team where everybody lives up to a certain standard, holds themselves accountable, they hold each other accountable, and it's really sort of leadership by committee, right? So, we didn't name captains this year for that reason, because we want everybody to feel like they have a role in being a leader on our team, whether it's a freshman or a senior. I don't want anybody to feel like they have to take a back seat and not step up and be a leader when it's the appropriate time.
Yeah, and I think that's great because you have so many younger kids too. They have that ability to take that step up, but that's great. So overall, what's your overall goal for this season?
Our overall goal for this season is to, like I said, be the hardest playing, most together team that we can be. But if you take a look at, tangible goals, right? Obviously, we want to make the postseason. We want to be an NCAA tournament team. In order for us to be that, we have to take care of business in the non-league. I think we have a great opportunity with our non-league schedule. And the goal every year for us as a program is to play in the NCAA tournament, win the Atlantic 10, win the Big Five. So it gives us a lot of built-in things to aspire to.
Right.
And that's really cool. That's one of the things that makes LaSalle unique from other programs across the country is that we have opportunity to compete for multiple championships every year. So, the best is yet to come for us. I think we want to compete for championships, and I think this team is hungry to prove that they're the caliber team that can compete for Big Five and Atlantic 10 championships.
Okay. So as we're wrapping up here, I always like to ask like a more fun question. So since you're so Philly, where's the best cheesesteak?
Ooh, I'll have to go Max's on Broad and Erie.
Okay. All right.
I'm a North Philly guy, so Max's, Broad, Erie, that's our spot.
Okay. I have to go with Jim's, though. Have you ever had Jim's?
Oh, I love Jim's.
All right,
I love
all
Jim's.
right.
Which
That's my
Jim's?
favorite.
South Street or West Philly?
South Street.
South Street?
Definitely,
all
yeah.
right.
Yeah. But, all right, well, thank you so much for sitting down with me today, Coach. It was a great interview, so thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, G.
See you guys back on the desk. Yeah, I really enjoyed sitting down with Ash, and we wish them the best of luck this basketball season.
Before we get to the Explorers Report, men's soccer has one game left, and it is still in a four-way tie at 7th since all 4 teams lost last week. Women's soccer clinched home field in the first round, and the 4 seed while field hockey was eliminated from contention after dropping 2 of the last 3 games.
We welcome Josh Abrams in his Halloween costume for this week's Explorer Report.
Thanks, Gia. For this week's Explorer Report, our LaSalle women's soccer team hosts Dayton in the first round of the A10 Championship Tournament at 1 p.m. this Saturday. The 4th-seeded Explorers enter the contest with a 10-7-1 overall record and 6-4 in A10 play, while the 5th-seeded Flyers boast an overall record of 7-8-3 and 5-3-2 in conference play. These two teams should be very familiar with each other, as their last match was against one another, a 3-2 LaSalle victory on Senior Day this past Sunday. Even with the regular season finale ending positively versus the same opponent, LaSalle cannot overlook this Davidson team. In order for the Explorers to survive in advance, they need to contain freshman sensation Alexis Goins, who leads the Flyers in goals and points on the season and added a goal in the Sunday contest. Fellow freshman Lainey Huber and senior Jordan Pauly also need some eyes peeled on them. Huber leads the team in shots taken, and 4 out of 5 of Pauly's goals have come from the PK.
Yeah, his costume was absolutely fantastic, almost as good as ours. But women's soccer is coming off a great game off senior night. You know, Macy Bauer scored the game-tying and game-winning goal.
Yeah, now going into the playoffs, 6 goals in her last 5 games, moves into 6th place with a tie, passing her sister actually, which was in 7th place with 27 career goals. But I mean, just an unbelievable player. She's definitely going to be missed, and she should have a big game against Dayton.
Okay, well, let's go to our picks. So I have LaSalle 3-1.
I have them 4-3 after they put up 3 goals in the game last week against Dayton. I think they'll be able to put up 4 this time.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a close game, but, you know, it might be their last game, so I think that they're going to fight to the death.
Of course.
But let's see Josh's pick.
I have LaSalle winning this contest by a score of 2-2, but they get the extra goal in PKs.
Thanks, Josh. That just about wraps it up for us this week. If you can't make it out to see the Explorer Report, be sure to tune in next week for our coverage. Keep up with this weekend's other sporting events by visiting goexplorers.com or check out this week's edition of the Collegian.
Also, check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/LaSalleTV and on Twitter at SportsLine LTV. We welcome you to send your thoughts and suggestions there. Also, make sure to answer this week's poll, who looked better in that black dress?
Obviously me. For Jim Jam, Little Steve, and the rest of our SportsLine team, I think I'm Gia Lancey.
And I'm pretty sure I'm Tyler Small. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you at the game. Oh, thank goodness I can get out of this female clothing.